Please be seated. So this is my space right here. I enjoy, over the years, making this kind of a comfortable place for me to stand and offer a word on a Sunday morning. Whenever we have a funeral, this is where they park the casket. And it always it throws my mojo a little, because I always have to figure out where am I going to stand. It's right where I want to be. This morning, there's an elephant in our presence. You know, they talk about that invisible elephant in the presence. And it feels like I'm having to kind of work around. The elephant, it's not an elephant, it's a bishop. Bishop Marion Edgar, how do we pronounce it? Budde, B-U-D-D-E. She's definitely here. And she's kind of messing with my mojo. And I'm just going to set her aside here, okay? And we might get back to her, but I just want to set her aside. And I want to begin by focusing on this first public debate, not debate. It was the first public, what would you call it, address that Jesus gives, his first sermon. The sermon is mercifully short, and it's about mercy being given to those who least expect it. So he says, you know, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, and he has anointed me to preach, to proclaim the good news of God's salvation to the least, to the oppressed, to the blind, to the captives, to the poor. The Spirit of the God, of the Lord is coming mercifully to these folks in order to pull them out of darkness into the light. It's essentially his sermon. Brief about mercy. They love it. These are the hometown folks, and they are amazed, and they remark on his gracious words, and all is good and well, until they would go, wait a minute. This isn't a prophet. This isn't Isaiah. This is Jesus. This is the son of Joseph. He's one of us. So they kind of dismiss the messenger and thus the message, and pay no heed to his words. Jesus, anticipating this possible response, brings it up a notch. He says, remember the time back when our ancestors were suffering a famine, and the Spirit of the Lord in its mercy and love came to them, and they were deaf to his call, to his presence, and so he passed right over them. Even in their need, he passed right over them and showered his love and mercy on the very people our ancestors hated. And with that, they were enraged. And he's basically saying, hey, if the shoe fits, he kicked the hornet's nest. And so at that moment, they turn on him, grab him. This all happens unconnected. It's the following words for the scripture this morning. At any rate, this is how it happened. So they grab him, and they're going to throw him off the cliff. And somehow he slips through, and you know the story, and gets away. It raises for me the question of why is it so hard for us to receive a plea of mercy? When we act merciful, we are taking something of value, and we are giving it to someone who falls outside our circle of grace. Asking us to give it to the stranger, to the foreigner, to the enemy even, someone who is not family, not kin, not one of us. It's like asking us to step down from our throne and to stand face to face with someone who, and to give something of value to someone we don't think has any value. And when we step down and stand on equal ground with that person, we become in touch with our shared common humanity. Why would we do that? The person doesn't deserve it. Anytime anyone, on behalf of the Spirit of love, makes a request to us to be merciful, humanity historically has not responded favorably. Bishop Marion Edgar Buddy had the temerity of requesting a plea of mercy from our president in a very public way. There are those who applaud her spunk and those who prefer to throw her off a cliff. There are birds among us who practice allo feeding, A-L-L-O feeding, allo feeding against all expectation. Allo feeding is choosing willingly, these birds, to feed the hatchlings of people unrelated to them, of birds unrelated to their family. And when they do this, they strengthen the vitality and longevity of the entire species. We being asked and committing an act of mercy is hard. It's hard. It goes against our nature, it seems. But to do so puts us in touch with our common humanity. And when we are there and experience that, we are in touch with something that has more value than all the wealth and all the power on earth and in heaven. Because when we abide there in our common humanity through an act of mercy, we are being held in the hands of God.